Welcome, everybody. Ramis Fakori here with the IRA Club. Why don't you give everyone just a quick high-level view? Who is Dan Novas?
Thanks, Ramez. Hey, everyone, thank you for joining, taking time out of your day to join our webinar here today. Yes, as mentioned, my name is Dan Novaes. I have been an entrepreneur since I was probably around 14 or 15 years old. I started an e-commerce company in high school, exporting consumer electronics, ironically mobile phones, and had scaled that to about $2 million a year as a college student. Had a unfortunate circumstance at the end of college where one of my warehouses got robbed and I lost a lot of money, and then got into digital marketing where I figured I wouldn't be able to get robbed as easily. And so that was what got me into apps and software. Ultimately built Mobile with my team. Thus far, around all the companies that we have launched, we've approaching about $100 million in revenue through that. And, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Mode here in a second, so I won't go too deeply into it on this slide, but we will, dive into the strategies and what we do. And yeah, just to give context on the Reg CF and the Reg A, yeah, we did severely oversubscribe. We had to refund over $1 million back to people because we had too much demand in it. We are in the process of filing with the SEC for Reg A. However, if you are not accredited, we do have a very unique offering right now where we are giving people $50 free shares. There's no cost to you. You get to become a shareholder of Mode. It's part of our Investors Club. I put my contact info there. If you're interested, feel free to email that. And
Dan, I'm sorry. Dan, I didn't mean to cut you off. You broke up a little bit. I'm not sure if it was just on my side. And did I hear that correctly? You said you're offering for non-accredited investors 50 shares?
Yeah, we are giving $50 in free shares to non-accrediteds, technically as part of our Reg CF. So while with Reg CF, we cannot take any more dollars. It's technically still open because we have we planned for this kind of period while waiting for the SEC to give us approval. And it's how we get back to, all consumers. Our big goal of our company is to, be the first company to achieve 1 million shareholders as a private company. And so this was, thought out years ago. So I didn't include it here in the presentation, but something for.
But that's why I wanted to drive home, because I didn't hear that quite right. So for all of you that are listening right now, Dan is basically giving you free shares. So that should be alone a reason why that you want to reach out to Dan and his team, but have that conversation, because we're also here to network with each other. So Dan, thanks again. I didn't hear that. So that's great. And I know you said that isn't part of your presentation. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem. All right, everyone. So we're going to get started. So high level, I'll give you, again, I'll give you my intro, so I won't get too deep into that. I will tell you a little bit about our company, specifically this Peter Thiel $5 billion investment strategy. It's probably one of my favorite stories in investing. When I read it, I think I read it like 8 times because I didn't really exactly understand at the time. I was just finding out what an IRA was. But I use it today, and hopefully you will start using it, today or in 2024 as these limits go up, and then we'll have some Q&A. So background on myself, as mentioned, kind of gave you a little bit of background as an entrepreneur. Mode itself has been featured all over the press. We recently came from the New York Stock Exchange, have that video jumping out soon. And we have videos, I think, on the site, even with our NASDAQ presentations and some of these others. So I believe that is on the IRA Club page. But if not, you can also go to our website, the invest.mobile.com, to have a look at our company. We do have the privilege of working on this very unique concept, which I'll be introducing today, around transitioning and transforming smartphones into what we call earned phones, which is a term that we've coined. The company was ranked last year, actually the 2023 list that just came out at the end of this year, as the fastest growing software company in all of North America. Our revenue growth rate was 32,481% over a 31-year period. Or sorry, over a 3-year period, not 31-year, 3-year period. And we outranked, previous winners like Zillow, Lyft, Zoom, and several other major companies. So we're growing. Consumers are definitely taking interest in what we're doing, and excited to tell you about it today. So one of our biggest premises as a company is really focused on the smartphone, right? So smartphone is one of the unique assets that, whether you're rich or poor, you have one, and there's about 7 billion consumers with them in the world. We basically turn smartphones into income generating assets. And so the idea is that we think it's the most ubiquitous asset. It's sitting untapped in the pockets of these 7 billion consumers. And we're here to unlock that into a new asset class to generate extra income, especially into the people that need money with all the rising costs, and why many of you are likely here today to try and make some money from those things. We see that today the average consumer is spending around 50 hours a week. That is more than a work week on their smartphone. So the younger generations is on the higher end. The lower, so it's going to even go higher than 50 hours a week over that time. But when we started thinking about this as a business, we started looking at industries like ride sharing or short-term housing. And so you look at these industries that Uber has been able to unlock, that's a $100 billion asset class, $110 billion asset class, but not every single person owns a car and not every single person owns a home, but everyone does own a smartphone. And while you can't make as much money as renting out your car or renting out your house, it's a much lower barrier to entry and the numbers really stack up. So the idea behind our business is that we've created software on top of Android, the Google operating system. We call it EarnOS, like an earning operating system. And we take these 4 trillion hours a year that consumers spend, and we turn it into dollars. And that is the high level of the business. So we are excited to partner with IRA Club. Again, we think it's a really unique mechanic to be able to invest in the startups. There haven't really been many solutions that we've seen out there where you can invest your IRA into early stage solutions as opposed to investing in more traditional stocks and bonds. And we'll show you some of the capital annual growth rates of the differences that you get. And that's where this Peter Thiel strategy will come from. One of the best parts is that it's tax-free, the gains. And that's what we'll also talk about in this specific tool and this strategy. So if you don't know who Peter Thiel is, he is a very successful entrepreneur and investor. He's probably best known for co-founding PayPal, which is obviously one of the most valuable companies in the world in the financial services space. And he had a very unique strategy that he started implementing in about 1999. At the time, the IRA max limit was about $2,000. So that's why you'll see the $1,700 as his investment into the billions of dollars. He utilized this strategy each time that he actually invested in a company. So he was pretty prominent in his early investment into PayPal, into Palantir. These are all multi-billion dollar companies today. And so he's been able to essentially, essentially buy shares of these companies, sometimes for cents or dollars that now are worth significant sums. And those things really compound over time. And he has basically a $5 billion windfall with no taxes to pay because of using the self-directed Roth IRA to maximize these returns. So essentially, as Ramez was showing here, I put here for the 24 limit, so I put up to, which there will be up to $8,000 that you can invest if you're over 50. But the idea here is that a lot of people use their IRA to invest how they normally invest with a normal traditional stock market account. Now, investing in S&P is great, but one of the biggest upsides here is some of the benefits and perks of the IRA. It's not too much money that is being invested. You do have your caps at the $8,000, but you can kind of look at the average Roth IRA. It's about $39,000, and then Peter Thiel's is $5 billion. That's not because Peter Thiel is a billionaire for all the things that he's done. It's because he just utilized a very unique asset or a very unique strategy to invest in these early stage companies as opposed to just investing in the S&P 500. And I'll show you what the differences are from a percentage here on the next slide. So high level idea, use the money from the caps, invest in a bit more speculative earlier stage companies that can produce outsized returns. You won't necessarily have to pay tax on those returns if those companies do well. And then just be patient because these are longer term investments. You're not going to necessarily see a return in 6 months where you may be able to easily exit and see that 100x return. So keep that in mind. So here's an example of a chart of what you can see the annualized capital growth rate of what Peter Thiel's strategy did versus just investing in the S&P 500 or gold, right? And so when you think about what these investment multiples are and putting this into earlier stage companies, you can see that you were likely to produce way more outsized returns. And so through services like IRA Club, you can actually start investing in these types of companies that aren't necessarily baby seed stage companies, but are kind of in their trajectory of becoming a much larger company. Obviously, that does carry risk. Any investment does. But at the same time, that's where you can have those big outsized returns like Peter Thiel did with his top companies. For us, because we believe that we're tackling $1 trillion market, we're really sitting in the intersection of three markets between digital ads market, the mobile apps market, and the smartphone market. And so our company is kind of in the middle of all of these types of companies. And that's why we've seen such growth, because we probably work with 2,000 or 3,000 different advertisers that want your attention. Today, all of that money is going back to Google. It's going back to Facebook. And what basically our revenue model is to share that revenue back to you that these companies are taking from you. And so essentially that is, the equitable side of the business model that we do here at Mode. The people often ask me, like, what is the parallel of what you're ultimately looking to achieve here? Have there any companies that are doing this? What do your competitors do? And while we haven't necessarily seen another business that has gone out and just frankly said, hey, we're going to pay you for using your phone, or we're going to pay you to use television. Our business model is very similar to that of Roku, which is probably the largest streaming company in the world. But essentially, we look at the smart TV market and what happened from televisions to smart televisions. And that's about a $200 billion market, right? And I'll show you why from a household perspective. And we believe that the earned phone market, as mentioned, is a $1 trillion market. And so when we looked at this market just on the side by side, there's about 700 million households in the world with a smart television, right? And the average family is spending about 2 hours a day with a television, where there's 7 billion smartphones around the world, and the average consumer is spending on average about 5 to 6 hours or more a day on their phones, right? So, and so you just generally do more with this phone than you do with the television, if you think about your own use case. And so what, Roku's business model has been is like, hey, we're going to license our smart television tech. So when you want to watch Netflix, when you want to watch Amazon, they power that for television makers. So like TCL or JVC, they're powering that. And all the money, the reason that televisions cost $100 today is because all the money is being made while you're watching your television through advertising and data analytics. But all that money is going back to Roku and to the television makers. And so our model is very similar in that nature, but we believe on creating a more equitable model that gives you a percentage of those profits, and everything is opt-in. And that's what we're doing essentially for the smartphone market. Today, Roku is about a $9 billion company, and we believe this is a much larger space, which is what we're working on internally. And so, from a company standpoint, investors are taking note. As I mentioned, we had a very successful Reg CF raise. Thus far, we've had about $15 million in signed and committed funds into our business. About 20,000 shareholders have, signed on to becoming owners in Mode, and growing every day quite significantly. And we've been featured all over the media and the press because of the uniqueness of our business model. And this is a moonshot business. I fundamentally believe that we're the closest company in the world to make your smartphone free or better, because we also make it an income source. And whatever company does that will change the world drastically, because it's the most valuable thing that you could possibly do for carriers and these phone makers. Because the phone is essentially the central point of someone's daily existence, how they communicate, job opportunities, etc. And in third world countries, it substitutes the desktop for many of those individuals. And so it's a massive market, massive opportunity. Thus far, we've been able to facilitate over $250 million back to consumers in earnings and savings. So that is us being able to help these consumers in creating earnings and savings back for them, and that is growing each and every day. Quite significantly. And we have partners that are selling these devices. So Walmart, Best Buy, Amazon, you can buy Earn phones, or you can just download our app in the Google Play Store and take your smartphone and turn it into an Earn phone if you wish. And that is, a high level of how we're getting our massive amounts of distribution. We have, I believe, about 2 million 5-star reviews with our software, just reviews alone, and about 45 million people around the world have used our service to use Mode. So, that's a high level on what we're doing here. I want to make sure we save enough time for any Q&As on the strategy or the business or anything really. And we, at a high level, as Ramez was focusing on, we do have a very unique offer right now for IRA Club members, where, again, this is addressed for 2024, could also apply for 2023. where we have about 160% bonus shares, meaning if you invest in the company, you can get up to 100%, 160%, depending on the amount that you're investing. Right now, shares are about 16 cents a share. And, you can check out invest.moodmobile.com to see kind of how each tranche is distributed based on the amount of bonus shares that you would check out. Yeah, I think those are kind of what we have on the high level. Happy to open it up for questions.
Thank you. Actually, I was going to say, if you don't mind, if there was a way to contact you, you just put up that slide. So that's perfect. But before I jump into like the process itself, somebody actually hit me up in the private chat saying, I'm a little confused. Am I investing in the actual phone or like a tech product? I think is what he was implying. This was coming from Chris. I hope I didn't put you on Front Street, Chris. My apologies.
Yeah, so you'd be investing in the broader company, and just like you would in any, shares that you're buying on, like if you're investing in Boeing, you're not investing in like the plane, you're investing in the shares of the company. So, this is more of an introduction of what we as a technology do and kind of what our value prop, how we generate revenue. A lot of our materials are on the site and stuff, so you can kind of see how the investor decks are structured, the business model behind it, the shareholders, etc. But I just wanted to give a high level of how the business operates.
Okay, just to be clear, the $50 in shares is available only to non-accredited investors or all investors? I think we were talking about in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it's designed for non-accredited, but anyone can take part of it. If you send an email to invest@moodmobile.com, we can sort you out in that sense so that you can take part of that offer.
Okay. So Scott asks, thanks, okay. Oh, Scott was just responding back, Dan, when you were talking about the recording. To all IRA Club clients that are currently listening, I'll show you where to find Mood Mobile and the actual recording once it's ready. But not to mention, everybody will receive the recording via email, whether you're attending right now or for those that are watching a little bit later. Eric, I'm not sure what you're referring to. What about iPhone ? So can we get a little bit more clarification on that? Unclear what the business plan is. This is coming from Scott. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so I think Scott's question is like, what is the business model that we operate on? So essentially, we created the software that is capable of rewarding people for the things they do on their phone. So today, when you unlock your phone, we essentially may partner with news sites that pay us because they want your attention, right? And so if CNN is giving us a rev share for sending you to that site. Or we may work with Robinhood, who wants, hey, we want investors to invest in Robinhood. And so Robinhood may pay us $100 for every single investor that we may bring there. And then we give a percentage of that back to you. And so think about that across every single facet of your life, whether it's shopping, trading, listening to music, streaming, even charging your phone. We pay people to charge their phone and unlock their phone. And so we have created a revenue model and essentially an engine to essentially make your phone and phone cost absolutely free or better. Usually our target market is more of a budget conscious audience, people that are buying these sub $100, $150 phones, which, saw one question on iPhone. And, iPhone is about 1 billion phones around the world, whereas Android's about 6 billion. And the reason is because an iPhone's about $1,000, or more to buy an iPhone. And generally, that is something that's only reserved for people that are earning a certain amount of money, considering that's like the yearly income of some people in some of these third world countries. And so that's kind of our major focus is really focusing on the everyday person. So not really here to sell the product itself, but feel free to use it if you wish. But the high level idea is the software that we've created as a whole. And for people that are asking for more detail, we really wanted to make it more educational here today, really on the IRA strategy itself. Invest.moodmobile really has the site itself has a lot of our investor decks, our audited financials, the business model videos that really explain the business top to bottom and all those revenue charts. I didn't want to take 40 minutes of the time to kind of go in those deep, components here with all of you. But we're also happy to anytime jump on a call or feel free to email us, and we will send you our entire investor data room, which has all of our investor updates, audited financials, case studies, videos, etc.
Thank you guys for joining us. Dan, always, I know you're a busy man running a multi-million-dollar company. Thank you for taking the time to educate our clients.
Thanks, guys. Thank you for having me, and have a great rest of your day.
The information contained herein is intended to help the viewer successfully navigate common IRS and Department of Labor requirements to help achieve successful results from their IRA. The information is not intended to replace information from your legal counsel or income tax professional. IRA Club does not offer or sell any investment. All investments have risk.